what were some of the assumptions that you made that didn't quite pan out?
Well, actually, the first thing was a thesis, was that big, large, the investors that buy real estate traditionally for 1 million dirhams would start to come our way and buy 1 million dirhams on the platform. That was debunked. That was that was clearly an assumption that didn't pan out. So we ended up creating a market that previously didn't exist.
Dubai rents in 2024 are reportedly up 23% year on year, back to pre-pandemic levels, and sales are up 18%. But not everyone has the money to invest big into the sector. This is where our guests today come in. Rami, Tabbara, and Manar Mahmassani, the co-founders and co-CEOs of Stake, allow people to fractionally invest in a property or own a small stake of the asset, starting from as little as 500 dirhams. And it's proven to be a welcome endeavor so far, with a $14 million Series A funding round in 2024 and over 500,000 registered users from over 180 countries.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Homegrown DXB, the show taking you inside the lives of the people changing yours right here in Dubai. I'm your host, Omar Butti. And I'm delighted to have with me today Rami and Manar, the co-founders and co-CEOs of Stake, an incredible platform that lets you fractionally invest in real estate here in Dubai and across the Middle East. And I want to start talking about how you two, met, your relationship, because it seems like you have a very deep, long-standing one. Where did you guys meet?
We met in high school, in Beirut. We went to the same high school.
How old are you guys at the time?
16. We were in 10th grade together. Actually, I was in the school for a long time, and then Manar joined ACS in 10th grade, right?
Yeah, from another school in Lebanon. And we hit it off. I used to school him in basketball. But then he became...
Do you still school him in basketball?
No, actually, he's quite better than me now.
Yeah.
We practiced less, but we got kicked out from the varsity team actually together.
Why?
We were just a nuisance.
Just a nuisance, actually, yeah. But we played junior varsity together, and then senior year in varsity, that's when we got, they didn't allow us to re-enter. It was a funny story back in the day.
We've been friends since. We moved to Dubai at the same time, around the same time. And then, we've just been, best friends since.
And it seems like still friends, which is great, because obviously now years of business together. I'm curious, like back then in high school, when you guys were schooling each other, getting kicked off of basketball teams, did you have any inkling, any idea that you'd want to work together in the future, go into business together? Was that something you talked about then?
No,
I don't think so. At that point, our biggest worry is how we chase girls and get into fights and go to nightclubs. That was really, the top of mind, high school stuff. But it became more top of mind later in, our careers. I think when we first moved to Dubai and started having our parallel careers.
We started talking about, I remember, are you happy at your work? Are you fulfilled? And we both kind of had the same answer. No, we're not. We used to live together in Dubai, so we were roommates, and we'd come back home and we'd talk about our jobs and stuff. And I think that's when we started, connecting on the professional level and saying, hey, let's do something together.
I mean, it was quite a long time, I guess, between you guys moving here and then obviously getting together to start Stake. I think about 15 years for both of you, right? In different disciplines. You were, Rami, you were in real estate, right? Mm-hmm. I think with the first group and then Demak. Mm-hmm. I'm curious sort of what that period was like, how you've seen that sector change over this time, and sort of what you took from your time there that inspired Stake.
So, I fell into real estate by mistake. It wasn't something that, I wanted to do. I came here in 2006, working for a Procter & Gamble distributor. I hated my life doing that. And then I left, and then I fell into real estate, as I said, by mistake. And it was a career of 15 years. And I loved it, Dubai back in 2006, even till today. I mean, real estate is the hottest, topic. Everyone talks about real estate. You go anywhere, everyone, talks about it. Is the market going up? Is the market going down? But, being in that 7 days a week, 18-hour days, you really start having a passion for the business. But being in that industry for so long, you start seeing where the deficiencies are and kind of how can you do it better. When I was with First Group, I got to travel. I lived in Moscow and I lived in Nigeria for a year in each city. And you got to see how much demand Dubai real estate has. And then, I went on to Damac, which is obviously one of the largest real estate development companies in the world, in the region. And I got to see, how that industry is, big, how that company really scales. But I learned that there's a huge disconnect between what developers want to achieve versus what the retail investor wants. Everyone wants a piece of real estate. There's a huge affinity to it in this part of the world. You're taught when you're young, invest in real estate by your parents. It's the lowest hanging fruit. You want to invest in the asset class, but it's very hard to invest in it. Either you get a mortgage, you go to bed owing a bank at the end of the night, at the end of the day, or you want to invest, but there isn't that transparency. Brokers trying to sell you everything off a brochure, developers trying to get the highest price. So how can you create a platform that's transparent, that's digital, but it's also affordable, which is where the fractional comes in. And that's kind of where Manar and I started talking, saying, real estate there's so much you can do in that industry, that asset class. And that's, how Stake came about. And that's what drove me to say, hey, there's a lot of people who want real estate. They want to invest in Dubai, but there isn't an easy and transparent way to do it.
So was it somewhere he came to you? Because you were in the finance sector for those 15 years, right? Although obviously you lived together, so you were talking all the time. Again, sort of...
For a period, actually. Not the full 15
Not
years,
the full
of
15
course.
years.
Yeah,
it was Deutsche Bank, I think.
Yes, I did. I spent 10 years at Deutsche Bank.
Okay. Were you happy there? Was it something where you were also kind of itching to think about what can I do? What can I build for myself? Or was it something where Rami came to you and was I have this idea and you're like, I don't know.
No, it's more the former. It was actually, banking was where I wanted to be straight off of uni. Couldn't get a job in London, and Dubai welcomed me in open arms. And actually that was, my first job, and my real first job was Deutsche Bank, and it was a school. It was a fantastic place to be, and lots of smart people around that you get to learn a ton out of. But, I was, after 10 years, a bit bankinged out, if that makes sense. I was just really, wanting a change and wanting a stepping stone to an entrepreneurial kind of experience of my own. That's why I went to, an alternative lending business called Falcon Group just for 4 years, really reporting to that founder and chairman of that business that was very successful, and one of my clients actually at Deutsche. But I was on the look for something to start on my own, actually. And we used to talk about, doing things together. We looked at different business models, but really at the end of the day, I think he didn't have to look too far. This license for fractional real estate started, got rolled out, got released.
He couldn't believe the money that was being made in real estate. I'd come back home and tell him, look at all these commissions, look at how much we're making. And he'd be like,
I'm in the wrong business. Yeah.
That was shocking me. I was still, that was the thesis that, these people are buying a lot of real estate the wrong way, or it can be done better. And so that was like the no-brainer moment that, let's combine my investment, experience in the markets to develop an investment product, his real estate expertise, and marketing and sales acumen to put together a really amazing platform that really is built on top of an amazing city like Dubai.
So, it sounds like you both had sort of the itch, or it was the right time to make the jump. But did you ever have any second thoughts about leaving two seemingly very successful careers that you'd built in your respective industries? You'd made your way up, you're getting already great commissions. So did you ever have that moment of panic or doubt?
Oh, the first year, almost every day. And we'd share it with each other. I think if you don't, you're not normal, right? You're always going to be scared and worried, and we talk about it. Did we do the right choice? How's this going to take off? And remember, we did it in COVID, right? So yeah, there was always
families.
Yeah, with families, kids.
How did your families take it?
So my wife knew I didn't like where I was. She it was affecting her as well, because I'd come and be not fulfilled. I was annoyed and down. So she knew. But when I did it in the middle of COVID, she's like, why now? Like, why did you just do it now? And it's so funny because, we always say the story. Manar and I had always spoken about leaving our jobs when we got the license from the regulator, which was going to come around October 2020. But I end up leaving in March. I remember I called him and I'm like, hey, I left. He's like, what do you mean? So yeah, I left my job. He's like, I thought we agreed, till October. I'm like, man, I can't do it anymore. And it was in the middle of COVID, so real estate was slowing down. And I just felt it was like the right time to, move. So yeah.
And then you started working on the business even preemptively, I assume. Right?
So yeah,
It
even
was
when I was
supposed to be a
employed.
side hustle.
Even when we were employed, we were working.
It was supposed to be a bit of a side hustle till we leave our jobs and then, started off kind of calculated that way. But he took the plunge before me. I stayed on,
and then
according
he dragged
to plan.
you along with him, right? Yeah.
And then I stayed according to plan, and we launched at the time that we expected, which was Q4 in 2020. Actually, that was the pre-launch, and then we publicly launched in January 2021. But yeah, it was very disorientating just to start off with, being in a very uncertain kind of position with regards to what's going on in the world, what's going to go on with real estate market, because real estate market had been going through a 5-year downturn, and on top of it, how does how will be the appetite for our product? Like, will people want to buy whatever we're trying to gonna sell? That's kind of like the dilemma or the challenge that every startup runs into, right? Whether they're going to find product market fit or not, but that's what's keeping us up. And
we were bootstrapping at the time.
And bootstrapping it at the time. Are we going to get the funding? For the longest time, it took us a very long time to kind of close the first seed round. By June 21
this year with your 14 million Series A funding round. So congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I mean, as someone who's not a real estate expert, from the outside looking in, I would say, COVID seems like it would be a tough time to launch something. Was that true? Was that something that you struggled during because it was COVID and there wasn't that appetite?
I actually think it gave us the time to really build the foundation of the business. You're working or the world was back to normal or functioning normally, it would have been a lot more distracting to really build it. I actually think COVID was a good time, and you were working from home, right? So you had that full time to actually focus on it. And then you knew that, the world was on pause and you've taken that decision. You can't go back. So you're really throwing yourself behind the idea. So, and at the time, I actually think COVID really taught people how important real estate is. I mean, that's why real estate around the world, residential real estate around the world, really took off during COVID or literally after COVID, because people realized, hey, I'm spending more time at home. The roof over my head is very important. People understood that you still need to pay rent. Landlords were still collecting rent. Yeah, there were some delays, but you still had to be paying rent. So I think residential real estate, people understood COVID helped real estate more than people realize. Maybe commercial real estate took a hit because of the fact that people were working more from home, less from the office. But I think the importance of that asset class was highlighted during COVID. And that really helped us, because people are like, hey, listen, regardless of what happens, I need to pay rent. As an investor, I'm going to make income from the rent and make yield. So I actually think it was a blessing in disguise for residential real estate.
So what was that first year like when you guys rolled out? Obviously, you said there was moments of self-doubt, which is normal, like human, right? But did it kind of go according to plan? Was it did it fall like your optimistic projections? Was it more than you hoped? Less? What was that first year like?
A lot of our previous kind of assumptions and expectations were challenged, and we had to, kind of obviously be very quick and agile to adapt.
What were some of the assumptions that you made that didn't quite pan out?
Well, actually, the first thing was a thesis, was that large, the investors that buy real estate traditionally for 1 million dirhams would start to come our way and buy 1 million dirhams on the platform. That was debunked. That was that was clearly an assumption that didn't pan out. So we ended up creating a market that previously didn't exist, right? So we thought we would tap into the existing market, which is anywhere between 20 and $40 billion annually, at that time. Obviously, this year, Dubai has taken off to $140 billion. It's been on a tear since COVID, but we've only started now attracting the traditional buyers to say, hey, this is a better way. Diversify, your exposure or your portfolio by breaking it down that 1 million dirhams making it 200K in 5 properties, for instance. That's a better way of doing it, and do it entirely digital. But only initially did we start to, kind of find out that our customer is actually the smaller guys that want to start participating. And it became clear to us that those guys have, just like the others, everybody has a fundamental human need for owning and investing in real estate. It's, other companies have built, empires actually, delivering that for larger institutional and high net worth investors. Others have done that for the stock market, right? Everybody wants to own the S&P 500. We were talking about it earlier, to just like be invested, right? But it's a stronger human need to be invested in real estate in your portfolio. And that's what we discovered.
I think if it wasn't for the fact that we weren't attracting the traditional investor, because if we did, I think we would have built just a standard brokerage. The fact that we realized that you needed to target smaller investors in the beginning, it forced us to really build the most advanced real estate investment platform in the world. And we say that we've really built such an amazing user experience on an app. And that's when we actually, we found our third co-founder, Ricardo, to join us to run all tech and product, because Manar and I don't have, the experience in tech, and this, tech is so important in our business, that finding actually forced us to really build an unbelievable platform.
I heard you think previously remark on tech in particular being something that's sort of crucial, or like advice you'd give to people starting their companies to not skimp on tech. You mentioned why that made sense from a rationale perspective, but were there specific experiences you had in that first period where you're like, oh, this is a lot more complicated than we thought. This is a lot more challenging.
We're a regulated business. We're collecting client money, and we're allowing anyone from anywhere in the world to invest in real estate in Dubai in under 3 minutes. So when you say that on an app, there's a lot of stuff that goes on, and people don't realize that, and we always try to show it in our content that there's a lot of work that goes on, but it's all digital. So in our first year, when we were bootstrapping and we hadn't raised enough money, we kind of just got any tech people that can help us just launch anything. And then we quickly found out that by doing that, we had so much tech debt that delayed us from going faster in our first year. So really, we say this, if you put Manar in a room and you put me in a room and you ask us, what was the best decision you guys ever made? It would be finding Ricardo and making him a co-founder.
How did you find Ricardo?
Headhunter.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
We interviewed, this is during COVID. We were interviewing 30 people, and then we found him, and it was like love at first sight. Honestly, it's like we love this guy. But funnily enough, we couldn't afford him in the beginning, and then when we raised some money, we reached out to him, and he had just exited a business. It really just right place, right time, and he's been the best co-founder we could have ever asked for. And the reason why tech is so important is because then it enabled us to really build something that doesn't exist around the world, really push the envelope on how you invest in real estate. I mean, when you think of it, it's quite crazy. You download an app, you're living in Tokyo, you create an account, and then literally within 3 minutes, you own a piece of Dubai real estate. Now, that shows you the technology that we've built, but it also shows you how amazing Dubai is as a city, because it enables you to do that, while other cities around the world don't. It's like a lot of red tape and bureaucracy. The fact that you can do that really is a testament to the city, but also kind of what we've built. And that's why for you to scale into the millions of users, our app has been downloaded now over 1 million times. We have 1 million users. Had it not been for the technology, we would have not been able to reach that.
And what do you think it is then about Dubai specifically that enables this type of business, or is maybe attractive to people who are living in Tokyo, or I saw that you had some people, customers from the United States, the UK, who are investing in real estate here.
204 nationalities from 172 countries is our user base.
That's very impressive. That's basically that's a Dubai postcard, right? 200 nationalities all living here, only just outside, right? Yeah. What do you think it is then about Dubai that allows this type of business to be run here that might be more challenging in other territories?
I think it's firstly, Dubai has done phenomenally well in promoting itself in the global scene, right? And really kind of standing out in terms of value proposition. Really building on, from the leadership's efforts to, have world-class infrastructure, world-class schooling, world-class financial sector. And, it's just been run like a very successful startup that has scaled and, achieved massive success. And so really, when you think about it, the market here attracts that capital already. And we are kind of a mirror of that as a platform. Those nationalities and those countries of users, more than 50% of our users come from outside the UAE, is really, kind of just mirroring what Dubai has done as a real estate market itself. And there's many reasons why the real estate market in Dubai is attractive to those investors, because it's the highest yield in the world. You can basically make the highest return from rental income in prime areas out of all global cities. B, you have a very stable currency out of all the emerging markets, right? It's pegged to the dollar. So that actually is a huge reason why money flows to Dubai from places like India, Pakistan, Asia, Europe, and elsewhere. Lastly, I think the appeal and the growth of the city is second to none. So people want a piece of that growth. And the stock market is kind of less accessible. It's too complicated to enter into. There's no REITs, real estate investment trusts, which are usually your vehicles to get into real estate. And those things are a bit antiquated. So for us, it made sense to build a product like fractional ownership of individual properties that are giving you a second income, which is our slogan, on a monthly basis, so that you can, participate and be part of the action, and get exposure to the growth of Dubai.
Touching on what we were talking about earlier, COVID. Everyone who came here, because the whole world was locked up, people came here and they realized, okay, this is a city I want to set up in, and the way they reacted to COVID and they opened up, and businesses and everything, that really helped Dubai really become what it is today.
I think COVID was a step change. We really, being here almost 20 years now,
100%.
Yeah.
COVID really
100%.
saw a big step change in the market here.
So obviously, you started here in Dubai, built the business in Dubai, and Dubai has continued to be very attractive. But you're expanding now, right? You're expanding to Saudi Arabia, you're Abu Dhabi, I believe, as well. How do you decide on sort of when's the right time to expand? Again, I think I've heard you guys remark that you like to be very focused, not to move too fast. It's a common, I think, mistake a lot of people can make when they're growing a business. So, how do you know that this is the right time to do it?
When you know that the foundation is right, that the systems are working and you're able to scale, but you know that there's an opportunity for you to really go from point A to point B and take your business to the next level. And it was a natural progression for us to be, what's our mission? We want to be the most dominant and the largest and go-to real estate investment platform in the region. Natural progression is going into Saudi Arabia. And we knew that because we have the foundation right, we have the right team, now was the time to really press the button and expand into, the next hottest place in the world, which is, Saudi and Riyadh. So. And
how long have you been building that up?
Quite a long time, actually.
I would assume years, right?
Yes.
24 months.
Oh, 24 months. Okay. And so can you, obviously whatever you're able to, can you walk me through the process of, how you go from we should expand into Saudi as a thought into putting it into practice?
It all starts with application for a regulatory license, because, without being regulated, you can't really operate our model. And that took a very long time. We are the only international, let's say, foreign fintech in the sandbox of the Capital Markets Authority, the regulator there. So the first step is to take submit an application, but also in between you can't sit and wait, right? So you're also starting to lay the foundations on the product itself to become a more cross-border investment experience. Our vision was from the beginning to make real estate transparent, accessible, open to all, borderless, and liquid. And so, that's the kind of the mindset that we had from the start in order to, in terms of building out the product. So once we got the license, then really, things took off on the product side to kind of start building that seamless experience that we've built, which is kind of like Uber, if you will. When you land, you immediately, kind of see the local services and offerings. And so you got to localize your product that way. and have a great seamless switch experience between the two, because you're starting to now build a cross-border, diversified portfolio, which is this, kind of like the real value of doing things, digitally in a seamless way, with people like us who try and bring you a curated experience into, investing in real estate. We're not going to show you anything and everything in terms of options, right?
And how do you do that curation then, right?
So Dubai is obviously, Rami's built a fantastic acquisitions team and an acquisition process in terms of criteria that's pretty diligent and thorough, and
We work with the top brokers in town here. And literally, like, we've now become one of the top buyers of secondary real estate in the market, which is ready properties instead of off-plan. So yeah, as Manar was saying, we really have built.
Because there's enough demand for that.
People tend to focus on the off-plan market in Dubai.
Yeah.
We focus on the ready market because we want people to make income now. And by regulation, they wanted us to focus on ready residential real estate. So, when we first started, we were like, okay, where do we find the stock from? Obviously, I have a good network being in the market for so long. So they started giving us properties, but it was like, hey, please do me a favor. I want to find a good property. Help me. Now, because we're actually one of the fastest buyers. It takes us end to end 11 days to fund the full property on our platform. We actually funded a property in 4 minutes, which is a world record, by the way, on the platform. So because we're such good buyers and fast buyers, now our acquisitions is so streamlined in Dubai that the top brokers love working with us because, we're like a complementary to the whole ecosystem. So they send us deals. We have an in-house algorithm. We have the data now to know what works, what yield works, which location, which building, which developer. And then now we acquire those properties based on what really is the top end of the market. That's what we do in Dubai.
I wanted to talk a little about your process, I guess, as co-CEOs, which is not necessarily, I think you've been asked about this before, but like not super common, right? And how you balance, sort of who gets the final say, who does what. I mean, obviously you have your lanes and your expertise that you're bringing to the business, but why was it important to you guys to have that co-CEO, and how does that actually function for the business?
It was important from the onset because it was the agreement between us. We said we'd join forces and launch a business together on the basis that we're equals, and we're gonna, do this that way. And quickly, even before we launched, we really started laying the framework for how the responsibilities are going to be split, because having two decision makers is not efficient, right? So we were very cognizant of that fact and built the scope for each one, where the final decision maker is. So we have an agreement still to this date. It's just literally a document that has bullet points under each one's names, and we rarely ever refer to it. But in the first year, we did once or twice, just to like.
Where is this? Is this a document you guys just typed up between?
Yeah.
you?
Literally.
So it was like, okay, what are you focusing on? What are you focusing on? Okay, split it up, put it on a paper. And then we said, okay, this is more important for me. This is more important for you. You have more experience here. I have more experience there. And literally, it took us maybe half an hour. We agreed on it. And now it's just, it's automatic.
And you still agree on it? It's still
Yeah.
there.
It hasn't changed whatsoever.
Hasn't changed. And it's like, I think it's because we've known, so you asked that question earlier, because we've known each other for over 25 years. We trust each other blindly. It's more than just, we're not just co-founders, but we're family. We've known each other for so long that we trust each other blindly, that the fact is, that whatever decision he's going to make or I'm going to make on each side of the business, it's for the better of the business. And even when there's something that comes where we're going to argue about, we will, but then we both realize that it's for the betterment of the business, and whoever has more insight into that, then we'll make that decision. We've been operating now for over 4 years, in our 5th year now, and the company never had a standstill. It's, we just trust each other, and we know what each one of us is good at, and we let each other run.
I imagine you spend a lot of time with each other. Do you guys spend time together socially?
We used to a lot more.
Yeah.
Now it's a lot less because we see each other, 16
work,
hours of
yeah.
the day. We don't want to see each other again at night. But no, I mean, yeah, we do. We have a group of friends that have been together since Lebanon who kind of moved to Dubai, and we still see each other. We're
actually
social
going out
group.
tomorrow. Yeah. So
going out
we
tomorrow,
we do see each other socially still,
Okay.
but yeah,
It's in the
sometimes
calendar.
yeah, periodically, because we're together all the time, but the friendship is like, it's really interesting because we switch between friends and work. That's why I think it's quite unique because, and it works oddly, that, you know, we understand each other and we have that trust that Rami mentioned, that actually makes things a lot smoother than having to, like, as peers at least, or, you know, without a hierarchy, peers operate efficiently, make decisions quick, and try and also make the best decisions as well. So there's no ego, there's data, and we really kind of believe in that kind of framework to make decisions. And there's obviously fallback, like we said, in terms of scope and responsibilities, but we rarely, you know, kind of have to say, oh, we agree to disagree, or we disagree and commit. Those kind of frameworks, we don't have them really in place, at least not consciously.
I imagine they're probably shared, considering, you know, how well you know each other and how you align. But do you guys have, I say, a framework, or I say principles for business, things that you abide by, things that you do in terms of how you do business, who you do business with, process in that way? Is there anything in particular that you sort of live by?
So, I mean, one thing that we're super aligned on is really hiring people that are very similar to us. And because we're very similar, the senior management team that we've hired are really the best. Honestly, we say that, you know, we have one of the best teams out there. And I think it's because we're so similar that we're, even in his side of the business and my side of the business, we've really hired people that get along with each other because they're hardworking, they believe in the mission. So we have that, you know, alignment. But, you know, one of the things that we also really believe in is customer centricity. I mean, both of us are so addicted to that. And I think that's really set the tone in the business to really, you know, if you look at our reviews online, everyone's like, you know, steak service is the best, steak service is the best. And I think it's because both of us have that value, that it's really been kind of spread into the business and how we speak to clients, how the brand speaks to clients, how our heads and their teams speak to the clients. So, you know, that's one of the things I know we really believe in. But another thing also is integrity. You know, we really believe in empowering people and giving them the transparency and investing. That's one of the main reasons why we launched this business. And that's one of our core values in the company that, you know, we both kind of abide by and push. If there's anything else you want to add.
Yeah, no, I just highlight the first point, which is the team is kind of not just the best, and honestly, because you run into people, you know, they're smart, really, and in many ways they're much smarter than us, and so that's what I found to be amazing outside of the place that I was raised, which is banking. And, you know, banking, you find great talent in certain places. That's why, you know, you have very leading organizations that, you know, outperform others and those sort of things. And my framework is really to look for, you know, outliers and that kind of thing. But we found outliers in a different world, which is, you know, in every single vertical or unit that we've built in the company. And finding that is really fantastic. Not just the talent, but also the commitment, the drive, the grit, which we're very big on, is like, how do you make sure everyone stays as bought into the mission as you are? Because we are, by definition, right? Our life depends on it. But people are choosing to work with us, for this mission. And so it is, you know, fantastically rewarding when it actually clicks, and these people that we have on the team are as bought in as us, in a meritocracy kind of way, to want to grow themselves, to want to grow this company, to achieve our ultimate mission.
Of course. Well, I mean, one thing I think, looking at your business, is you've been willing to take upon lessons. You know, you talked about some of the stuff that you've learned over the time. One thing I wanted to ask about is, I know you had at one point, and maybe you still do, plans to expand into Egypt. And I think you sort of were talking about that around the same time that you were originally considering Saudi Arabia. That didn't pan out to date. Could you tell me a little bit about that process, sort of what you learned from that? Is that still on the cards? Whatever you can share.
So that's one of the times where I think we let, or I let more, I think more than Manar, emotions take over more than data. You know, we were excited. We wanted to, you know, scale the business. We wanted to grow. And, you know, Egypt was a place that obviously over 100 million people. Real estate is huge there. You have a currency that depreciates. People want to put money into real estate, so it made so much sense. And even though our board, at the time, were like, don't go into Egypt right now. The economy isn't the best time. Now's not the time. And we're like, no. We wanted to be contrarian. We're like, this is the best time because.
Why were you so bullish or excited about it at the time?
Because you're adding, we want to be the dominant real estate investment platform. You go into a place like Egypt, you're going to generate so many users, which will not only invest in Egypt, but then they'll invest with you cross border. So it was a natural place for us. Like, you have a huge local population, huge retail population that are hungry to invest. So, our board at the time, who were a lot more experienced and had businesses in Egypt, they're like, trust me, now is not the time. And, we kind of went against them. We tried to convince them to like, no, this is the right time. They're like, listen, you're the founders, run. And honestly, the biggest mistake we had there was we didn't have the right team. Had we had the right team, I think we would have been live in Egypt and we would have actually done well. But because we were so excited about it, we didn't hire properly. We ended up hiring the wrong team, and that was very painful for us. It was a very expensive lesson. Sleepless nights, stress. I actually remember that time very well. I was flying in and out of Egypt, because Manar was focusing on Saudi, I was focusing on Egypt, but it was an expensive lesson. And I think it really made me personally, at least, learn that before you make a decision about expansion or anything, and if your board's telling you something, don't just be so hard-headed. Take a step back and, make the calculations and look at the data. But yeah, I think, so will we go to Egypt in the future? Maybe. There's a lot to do in the UAE and a lot to do in Saudi Arabia, especially over the next 10 years. Is Egypt still in the cards? Our company is still there, still set up and registered. But I think had we done a better choice and decisions of hiring the team and the structure, you live and learn.
I think there will be a time we'll go back, but hands are full right now. I think in terms of the next 5 years, focusing on Saudi and UAE.
So okay, that's certainly a lot to do. What are your expectations then for this next year, more immediately, with Saudi Arabia and with Abu Dhabi? Are you expecting a new type of customer to be interested in those particular markets? What in particular, what do you think differentiates those offerings from obviously what you have in Dubai right now?
For sure, there's a huge opportunity within Saudi Arabia. It's fascinating the scale that you see there. The local population tends to be quite actively invested in local products, and a lot of them are already clients of ours. On the platform. That actually what drove us to open there is like how much feedback we got of please come to Saudi. Let's we want to invest in Saudi properties. So we're really excited to deliver that experience to them in a differentiated way. So the local Saudi population is one side of the story, but we have a dual objective really also to be opening up Saudi Arabia, aligning with Vision 2030 there to the world. And I think there's nobody as well positioned as us to kind of achieve that in the near term, being the first platform that allows non-resident foreigners to access the Saudi market. Previously, that wasn't allowed, but just last month we made that a reality. It's a fantastic kind of thing to see after, especially a lot of that time that we took to really kind of launch our product. And the localization part is really kind of the next challenge, right? We spoke about our first phase really being a UAE, a successful, proving the model here in the UAE and proving that it's a scalable business model. And we've earned our right to grow. So now our next growth is going to come from geographic expansion to other cities like Abu Dhabi, but also other countries with Saudi as a second core market. And in Saudi, how we operate there is obviously needs to be localized to a large extent. We didn't mention this before, but we needed to build a team on the ground that can lead all the different business functions. Cannot be operated out of Dubai. So it's really one of those kind of learning experiences for us to understand the local market, the local ways of doing business, and how we can adapt to that to that way of working. And then at the same time, the product is quite different. Like here we do fractional real estate in the UAE. In Saudi, we're selling you a real estate fund, but it's it's different in that it's a single property, but the whole building instead of the apartment. So you can imagine the scale and the change for us in terms of magnitude of business that we're driving. And so literally overnight, our business doubled last month.
Actually doubled.
It actually doubled.
Wow.
When we launched our first property in Saudi Arabia. So that, seeing that digital event, how the step function works is really also super awesome.
If you look at just the next 10 years in Saudi, you have the Expo, and we saw what the Expo did to the market here. Then you have the World Cup. You also have the Asian Cup, Asian
right,
Games.
The World Cup, they just won that too.
So if you just imagine what's going to happen in that place for the next 10 years, I mean, it's going to be massive. So we're super excited to enable people to invest in the market, whether it's local Saudis and international. It's the best time.
I mean, yeah, it doubled overnight. That's a pretty good way to start, right? What do you think, from your expertise, the most common mistakes people make when investing in real estate?
Hype.
Hype? Okay.
Oh, yeah, hype. I mean, they see the fancy brochure. They see a family walking on a golf course with
There's always a family on a golf course.
There's always a family on a golf course. Sometimes there's a dog, right? Or they buy into this beachfront property and they just buy hype. They don't look at the price. They don't look at the developer track record. They don't look at comparables. And they end up buying something that is either going to be delayed. And, when you buy off plan, there's some amazing opportunities. But if you buy the wrong off plan, you're going to be stuck in a property that's might not be built or is going to be very delayed at the wrong price, and you're never going to see any income. So, for me, it's all about hype. And, I've seen the city and how fantastic it's grown. There's some places or some developers or some brokers that obviously missell, they overpromise, underdeliver. So the biggest mistake is buying into the hype before. And, real estate, you're not buying something small. It's one of the largest investments you make. You're investing in a home, you're buying a home. So, anyone who's listening who wants to buy a property, don't buy the hype. Really do your homework. Look at the comparables. Look at the data.
Or download Stake.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Sure. You talked a little bit about, I guess, the doubt in the first year. I'm assuming that's gone away a little bit with the success.
Massively.
Which is great. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
How do you, though, handle sort of the pressures of, yes, running the business, of knowing that this is everything for you guys, that you have this great team, but that obviously they also rely on, decisions that you guys are making. How do you handle that pressure on a day-to-day basis in your lives?
I used to meditate when we started, but I quickly saw that, my lifestyle doesn't really actually even allow for that time, to be very honest. And so that is usually a good stress release, but you know what? It's very personal at the end of the day. And, while it was very, very stressful the first year or so, each year actually was its own different type of stress, if you look at things like that. And we're in a different ballgame of that stress level actually still being very high, but a different kind of stress. And we each have, I think, our ways of dealing with that ultimately. My way of doing it is just actually clearing my head, clear my plate. I can't really, rest until everything that depends on me is actually done. Sometimes, burnout is real, but up until you get to that stage, there's a really good, healthy balance of actually, I do want to keep that stress because otherwise people get, I get complacent. I don't want to get complacent, right? So I welcome the good, healthy balance of stress in our life. But yeah, of course, you got to eat well, you got to exercise, and yeah, occasionally, and I'm less active socially because I'm just so tunnel vision into this business. But I think social, maintaining a great social life and friends to blow off steam is important.
For me, shout out to Barry's Boot Camp, 7 a.m., 6 days a week almost.
6 days a week, really?
Yeah, I'm almost close to 1,000 classes, so that's like my stress relief. almost
Wow.
every day, 7 a.m. on that treadmill. That really like lets it all out. I've actually now, whenever we do like a team get together, I force him to go to like Barry's boot camp.
Are you someone who's into
Yeah.
that type
Yes,
of
yes,
workout
I'm
too?
in it. I was in it before we started steak, but he's a lot more
I'm addicted
religious
to
about it.
Yeah, so that's definitely a stress release. And then I'll tell you, funnily enough, when I was an employee, I had a lot less time for my kids. Now that I kind of run the business and have my own business, I forced myself to make time for my kids, and I think that's a huge stress release for me. Just seeing them, spending time with them, has been great for me. I have a newborn, 8 months now, so
Congratulations.
thank you. So for me,
Are
it's
you, are you sleeping at all? You look very rested.
yeah, no, yeah. I don't know about my wife, but I've been sleeping well. But I seeing because I didn't get enough time to spend with my first two kids because I was traveling and employed and stuff. Now I make that time with my newborn, so that for me is like a huge stress relief for me.
I
Just
can
hanging out
imagine.
with the kids.
I mean, that's I guess an unexpected thing. 'Cause when you think of people that are like building their business, entrepreneurs, you always assume like no time, right? But I guess you can, set your own.
You own your
timetable, right?
schedule.
You own your own schedule. Yeah.
You own your schedule, so you can carve out that hour and then make it up at night or wake up earlier. So yeah, for sure.
The non-negotiables. That's what recently
No,
we
that's
talked
great.
about them, and now connecting with family is definitely one of those.
I 100% agree. I totally align with you guys on that. Just as a last sort of thought, I know you. I don't want you to tell me like 5 years. I want you to tell me like really big picture, like really long down the track. Like, what do you want Steak to be in terms of like a legacy, in terms of a business? How do you imagine it, growing over 20, 30, 40 years, hopefully?
So I'll say one thing, and I'll build on that. We were on a call with someone, a VC, who was talking about potentially investing in our business. And he said, before we start, I want to tell you a crazy story. I land in Mauritius with my family, get in the airport, get out of the airport, get in the taxi. And we're talking about, what do you do? What do I do? And he's basically said, I invest in real estate in Dubai. When he told him I'm from Dubai, he's like, what do you mean? He takes out his app, he takes out his phone and he shows him Steak. A taxi driver in Mauritius owns a piece of Dubai through Steak. That for us was like, okay, we're onto something. So take that 20 years forward. We want to enable people from anywhere in the world to own and build wealth and create wealth through owning real estate in a way that they could have never thought was possible. But not just in Saudi and the UAE. We want to enable people to own in major gateway cities. Why can't someone own a piece of London? Why can't someone own a piece of Miami? Why can't someone own a piece of New York, Singapore, whatever? So we really want to be the dominant real estate investment platform, but not just regionally. We have aspirations to go global. And when you see those retail investors, and by the way, we have investors who've given us 5 million dirhams, and we have investors who are waitresses and Emirates Airlines hostesses. So that enablement and that empowerment really has no boundaries, especially in that asset class like real estate. So fast forward, what stops us from really scaling this business and being the dominant go-to real estate investment platform? Because you look at it, no one around the world has built a go-to real estate investment platform that's borderless. Yes, you can invest in Amazon stock from one app, you can invest in any stock, but who's giving you that opportunity to invest in different real estate markets from one app? And that's how I see the growth is.
If we're blue sky thinking, but also it's actually very much part of our vision, really doing that investment use case, serving that investment use case with excellence, as a world-class product, gives you a really great chance to do a lot more things within the real estate industry at large. And so you build an ecosystem of digital products that are adjacent to the investment use case. So you serve renters in a better way, you serve brokers and developers in a better way. Like there's multiple participants in the market that we can, from having a network of millions of investors that are every month giving us millions of dollars to deploy in this asset class, it gives you a real chance to build something that is tied all together with technology in another way, like very innovatively, and that no business out there, actually, we're not copying any business model in that sense at all. So I really want to build an iconic company in that sense that has really it really delivers that service or that value within a lot of pain that is existent in all real estate markets in the world.
True homegrown original. Well, guys, thank you so much for taking the time. Rami, of course, Manar, thank you so much for being with us on Homegrown DXB.
Thank you
It was
for
a
having
pleasure.
us.
Great conversation.
Thanks
Thank
a
you
lot.
so much.
Great
Thank
to
you.
be here.